Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. We are back this week running with a skeleton crew. It's Lady and the Tramp today. Which one's Lady? Which one's Tramp?
I don't know, but get your spaghetti.
Yeah, you'll have an hour to decide. Is that a contractual obligation of the Lady and the Tramp reference? Is that we now have to share a plate of spaghetti? Because that's going to be a problem for me.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, we could think about spaghetti. Not sharing it even, just think about a plate of spaghetti out there. Maybe some meatballs, some nice pasta sauce, whatever your pasta sauce of choice is.
I don't know if I've ever actually sat through Lady and the Tramp.
Not only have I sat through Lady and the Tramp as an animated movie, but I also sat through the live action version of it. Not a bad movie. Big fan. I like dogs.
We've derailed our intro here, but I don't care. Okay, so I remember you just reminded me that happened, and you're saying it was all right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but it was definitely all right.
Did they talk? I really, I don't know that in the animated one, they don't talk. They're just dogs, right?
No,
or do they talk?
I think they talk in all of them.
Oh, they talk. Okay, across the board, they're talking?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the spaghetti scene, they're not talking. So I just assume it's just kind of like one of those silent films where you pick up on what they're feeling just through gestures and whatever else.
So basically the only thing you know about this movie is the spaghetti, and you've assumed that from that, because it was an Italian, so you assumed it was a very European type silent film deal.
A little bit. I mean, look, is the spaghetti scene not the most important part of that movie?
Fair. Fair.
Did they redo the spaghetti? Spoiler alert, everybody. Did they redo the spaghetti scene for the live action? Because that had to be a challenge.
I don't remember how they pulled it off, though.
How would you get actual live dogs to work their way up a spaghetti strand and smooch? Give them the Oscar if they pulled that off without any CGI, but that probably had CGI all over it.
I honestly don't remember, and I don't remember there being a lot of CGI, because I know one of the things that I was impressed with was that it was mostly not CGI. And even I don't remember them even moving the dog mouths. I think they just
I was going to ask that too.
I'm pretty sure, and now I might be totally steering everybody incorrectly because I watched it so long ago, when Disney Plus first launched, because wasn't it a launch title or close to launch?
Yeah, something like that.
And so I don't remember, but I want to say that they just superimposed dog voice, but they didn't actually make their mouths move. Because that's something that's a little unsettling when they have real action dogs and animals and then they make their mouths move to match. I don't like that. Not a fan.
Yeah. I don't know what's worse, actually, because I'm a little unsettled by hearing dogs' thoughts, but what did Homeward Bound do? I mean, you don't remember.
Homeward Bound, I do actually. Homeward Bound is one of my all-time favorite movies, and they just superimposed.
Okay, so the mouths were moving. Or no, so they weren't moving.
Yeah,
okay.
The mouths were not moving. They just superimposed the voiceover. And that was pretty much it. Actually, kudos to those animals because they pulled it off. They were extremely expressive animals in Homeward Bound.
Yeah, national treasures, each one of them. I watched Homeward Bound. It was a long time ago. Granted, Beethoven was kind of different, but
Beethoven was good too. Beethoven had many sequels.
Yeah, and there was this whole genre at that time, late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe it was mid 90s. I don't remember exactly what it was, but remember they made that cats versus dogs movie where the cats and the dogs were both spies? There was this, and maybe it's still going on, and it's not geared to me because I'm an adult person now, but there were, when I was a kid, there were all these movies that were look at Air Bud. They were just it was what if a dog did this thing? And maybe it talked. And
so
that's a movie right there.
As a full-grown adult who still loves animal movies, they don't really have a lot of them. The last one was The Great Ivan? Whatever the last Disney Plus movie, and it had Walter White. Why can't I remember his real name?
Bryan Cranston.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It had Walter White making meth with a bunch of animals. No, it was actually based on a true story. Obviously not the animals talking part, but the general overarching story was based on a true story. But The One and Only Ivan, that's what it was called. There was some animal stuff there. I watched it. It was not probably for my audience group, but I watched it. So no, they're not making a lot of those movies because I would know and I would watch it.
And they did Call of the Wild too, which we we talked about that in an interview. Like, but they're not. It's not. They're not like zany. You know, like it was zany back in the day. They weren't. They didn't take themselves so seriously. It was like, what if a dog played basketball? We don't care.
Right. They were like feel good family movie type things. They're not making those anymore. Because like even Beethoven was Air Bud before Air Bud.
Was Beethoven first? I actually don't know.
I want to say Beethoven was first. Because even like my older sister and brother, they watched Beethoven, but Air Bud was more just me. So I want to say Beethoven came first, and there was like lots of Beethovens. Because then cleverly, I don't know what studio even made Beethoven, but cleverly enough, they named all of the sequels based on like...
Yeah, Beethoven's third.
Yeah.
Beethoven, that's pretty good stuff. Man, you're kidding me. Air Bud, okay, the original Air Bud came out in 1997. Do you know when Beethoven came out? 1992. It was so much earlier. I did not know that. I learned something today, guys. Boy, wouldn't it be great if we just did a podcast that's a whole hour just talking about animal movies from the 90s?
Secret segment, here we come.
We're not going to do that, guys. We're going to talk about things. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, of course, which, you know, speaking of dogs, the Puppy Bowl happened. I did not watch the Puppy Bowl, but it was a thing. Puppies also, like... Jimmy Fallon gets puppies to predict the winner of the actual Super Bowl. Puppies are very involved in the Super Bowl these days, but we're going to talk about the actual humans against humans Super Bowl and its various trappings, including a couple of trailers that we saw during the Super Bowl. We're also going to talk about Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, the remake. Bad news for people who are fans of that because some news rolled down the pipe. Would be either today or, I don't know, yesterday. Sometime recently, where we're going to talk to you about it. And then we're going to talk about EA's big acquisition in the mobile games market. But let's start with the Super Bowl because there's a lot to unpack here. I'm just going to, right off the top, I did not finish the Super Bowl. I did not finish watching it. This is the first time in at least 10 years, probably much longer than that, that I turned it off in the fourth quarter. I think like 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was like, I've seen enough, and I switched it off.
Yo, good for you. I really wish I would have done that.
So, I'm better for it. Yeah.
I am not a fan of Tom Brady, and I feel like everybody who listens to this podcast knows. Maybe he's a great guy off the field. I don't know.
He's not a great guy.
I feel like he's not.
I refuse to believe that.
Some of the like medical stuff he sells and diet stuff feels a lot like he's kind of a snake oil salesman, and some of his character things and like temper tantrums on field, not a huge fan of. I will not say that he is not a talented player because he very clearly is. But, like, I didn't need to watch him win again. I really didn't. And it wasn't even like Kansas City put up a fight. It was just a super boring game watching Tom Brady dominate. Like, even watching Patrick Mahomes felt like it was maybe 5 minutes of the entire game that he was on the field.
Yeah. It was the Tom Brady show. Look, there was no... To me, I was rooting for the Chiefs. Okay? Because I hate Tom Brady. But even, like, I was rooting for the Chiefs, but, like, not that hard. So that was kind of the thing of, like... I was kind of in the camp of who cares from the word go, and then the game wasn't close or exciting, and I was like, I'm out. There's nothing for me here. And
even like the commercials, I don't know. I
actually liked the commercials this year. I felt like a dad watching these commercials because I was cracking up. See, I was laughing uproariously.
They were too far and few between, though, in my opinion. Like, there were some good ones here and there, but also I had to wait too long to get to the good ones, and then I just stopped paying attention, and yeah.
I will say, that's one thing we should talk about, because I did not realize how conditioned I am as a human being, that whenever I see a commercial, boom, where's my phone? I'm on my phone. I'm like actively avoiding the commercials, and in the Super Bowl, I don't want to say it's a faux pas, but it's like you should watch the commercials because things are going to happen. And I had to like work my way out of like, okay, commercials on, go to my phone. Oh, shoot, I just missed the, flat Matthew McConaughey commercial. I got to go watch that. I did not miss the flat Matthew McConaughey. That was just an example. Loved the flat Matthew McConaughey commercial. Shout out to Doritos. Good stuff. But that was a hill I had to get over. My favorite commercial, it's a tough one. I liked Drake from State Farm a lot. Just
that
because
was actually
I know
really good. I liked that.
They were holding on to that one for a long time, and they got Paul Rudd to be involved, which Paul Rudd being involved in anything makes it better. However, my favorite was probably the Will Ferrell one, where he went to Sweden when he was actually trying to go to Norway with the electric cars.
Oh, was that the General Motors one?
Yeah, General Motors, and there was like a bunch of comedians, like him and Awkwafina, like Kenan Thompson, like a bunch of famous people. I was big into that one. Weirdest commercial by far, weirdest and most not good to me. The John Cena Mountain Dew, count how many bottles are in this commercial. I get what they were trying to do, but the commercial itself was like a mushroom-induced fever dream from my nightmares kind of thing that it turned me off. Runner up, the Oatly milk commercial. Did you see the Oatly milk commercial?
Yeah. I didn't understand what was going on with that. Because like I still don't really understand what they do. And I feel like he was singing about it, but I was just so, I don't know, the singing was just a little strange and I don't know what was happening. And so I don't know. It was one of those things where you're not really processing what they're actually saying. You're just like, what is this the entire time?
Well, speaking of singing, one of the last ones I saw before I tuned out was the Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, Cheetos, Shaggy commercial.
I know what you're going to say, but I just want to say, I thought it was clever minus the singing.
Yeah, I was fine with the commercial, like the premise of the commercial. Ashton Kutcher, they should have dubbed him or something, man. What happened? How can you be Ashton Kutcher and be that? I would think when you reach a certain level of fame as an actor or actress, at some point you're gonna have to sing and you're gonna have to like get better at singing because like he was bad. I'm just sorry, Ashton. I'm not a huge fan of yours. I mean, I don't feel bad, but like it wasn't good. That's my opinion.
See, I'm trying to remember what the movie, A Lot Like Love. He actually sang in A Lot Like Love, which you know how he had that run of rom-coms back in was it the 90s and early 2000s. And I really liked A Lot Like Love. And there's a scene in there where he sings and he sings pretty poorly in that too. So I feel like he just needed to be a little bit more energetic and it could have played off as like campy bad singing, but like you could tell he was trying to sing seriously. And ooh.
He was bringing it. It was, that one was okay. That was a middle of the road commercial. I just like the Oatly commercial, to go back to that for a second. Every time I see a commercial like that, I'm like, oh my God, you spent however much money and that was what you came up with. Like, really, that's the one. I mean, we're talking about it. So I guess like the fact that we're talking about it probably means it's a good commercial, but we're talking about it for the wrong reasons, which is, you just asked, what do they even do? I mean, I assume they do oat milk and that's why they're called Oatly, but like, it was bizarre. Speaking of bizarre, well, okay, go ahead.
I really liked the Alexa commercial. And like, not because of Michael B. Jordan, although also because of that, but I just thought that was pretty clever.
I missed this one.
What?
When was this? Was this late?
They played it like several. It was, I think they premiered it late, but they also, it's been like all over the place. I think they posted on like Instagram and Twitter and it was trending because everyone was talking about how steamy it was. And
Are you thirsty for Michael B. Jordan? Is that the,
I mean, I think everybody is. But that's not the point. I thought it was just very cleverly done. I really liked it. And it was really, they pulled it off in a way where it was also really funny. So you should actually go back and watch that because I liked that one. Then they overkilled it though because they played it like back to back right at the end of the game. And it was like, oh, well, I just saw this.
Well, they played like, and this is another commercial related thing, is like, okay, if you're the NFL and you're hosting the Super Bowl and I'm watching the Super Bowl, you've already won. You know what I don't need? A commercial for the NFL. What is that about? They've been doing that. Like they did that with the 100th anniversary. They got all the players together. And this year they did the creepy Uncanny Valley Vince Lombardi.
Oh, that was terrible.
And they did it like 100 times. And it was like part of the pregame ceremony. And then they were like, we're going to play this as a commercial 100 more times. And I was like, okay, I get that you want me to like football, but I'm already here. So I probably kind of already like football. And even if I didn't like football, if I was just a casual viewer, this commercial is not going to convince me to like football because it was just like very over dramatic while also featuring the most uncanny valley of all.
Well, what I don't understand, so you're going to spend that much money on a commercial. And first of all, I'm in the camp where like, unless you're absolutely in a sticky wicket, kind of like they were in Star Wars, you just don't touch that entire realm of CGI and hologram stuff with a 10-foot pole. I just think I'm in the camp that it's super tacky and you should just not do it. But
if you're a live actor and people will understand what you're doing.
Right.
That's like, right.
But also like we have so much, or just like use footage, old footage. Why do we need a weird CGI reenactment? And even if you wanted to go the CGI route, I feel like there are better ways to make it look more realistic than whatever that monstrosity was. Because it looked like laughing. Something out of like a video game. And video game graphics are great, but like it didn't look good.
I was laughing because part of the ad is like a kid drops a football and Nightmare Vince Lombardi, like picks it up and hands it to the kid, and the kid looks up at him with this face of like, oh my God, is this what sleep paralysis is like? And it's like, it just made me laugh because I was like, yeah, I'd be scared too, kid. Like, he's a spooky looking digitally altered man. You could just get like, I don't know, get any number of actors. Yeah, it wouldn't be hard. I'm sure there's someone out there right now who's looking for a job who looks exactly like Vince Lombardi does. But speaking of bizarre, we should talk about this halftime show. And I want to clarify. I'm not a Weeknd fan. I don't really know The Weeknd. I know the one song that he has. I mean, he has more than one song, but like his really popular one that I'm not going to sing right now, but everyone knows it.
Please do.
I don't even know what it's called, so I couldn't even tell you which song I'm talking about, but just go to his Spotify. It's probably number one. I think he did, vocally, I think he did great. I think he was actually singing live, which I respect the hell out of. I think the mix was initially bad because I couldn't hear him at all, but I think him or his producers or whatnot adjusted it. And by like the midway point, he was both sounding good and giving us timeless memes to use for a year, which is, if there's one thing a Super Bowl halftime show is responsible for, it's that. Looking at you, Left Shark. But the pageantry, I wanna dig into. What's your Weeknd familiarity? First of all,
I'm like vaguely familiar. Tactic is more of a Weeknd fan than I am. Like, I don't dislike The Weeknd, but I'm not like out there hunting for his latest albums. You know, when I hear them come on a playlist, I'm like, ooh, this is catchy. But like, I don't go seek it out. I do know there's something with like the plastic surgery bandage montage.
The bandage thing.
I do know where that comes from because Tactic actually did explain this to me. Apparently, in some of his music videos, there's like a progression of a character, and you follow this character through all of the singles off this album, and it's all supposed to tell like a cohesive story. And in one of the videos, the character gets plastic surgery and looks drastically different than previous videos. So that is what that's in reference to. Well, there's a lot of masked people, which I mean, I'm for that. So
he also maybe that was his intent. He also accepted an award at like the VMAs or something. We're bastardizing pop music. I'm sure people listening to us right now are like, no, you idiots. Like, it's this and that. It was the VMAs or the AMAs or something. He accepted an award wearing those face bandages. And it was like all part of this, like, it's like a, not viral marketing, but it's like he's trying to increase awareness of this story that he's telling through multiple albums, which I understand. But if you're performing at the Super Bowl, this is your gateway to an enormous audience, a lot of whom, like myself, aren't all that familiar with you. Like, to me, The Weeknd, he can't feel his face when he's with me, of course. And I remember his old hair, which his old hair was like, it looked like someone took a mop and like, I don't know, did something to it and put it on top of his head. Do you remember his old hair?
I honestly don't.
Oh, man. You're going to have to give that a Google. It's like, it's not at all what you saw yesterday. It's like flying all over the place. I know that Weeknd. I know the Weeknd that was in Uncut Gems, which is a lot closer to this Weeknd. But I don't know anything about the face mask thing. So like he's doing this whole face mask bit, and it's very like it's interesting because he's doing like this kind of usually upbeat poppy music, and there's these guys who look like mummies wearing suits, kind of just dancing around all over the place. But this is your gateway to a bunch of fans, and I don't think like weirding them out is what you want to do. Catch their attention, yes, but like I would see that and I would be like, this must be for somebody else who's not me.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think it was impressive in that I think I read somewhere he spent like $7 million of his own dollars, like personal money, to make that show exactly what he envisioned, including all of those dancers with all of those costumes and masks and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from that standpoint, like, if he's going to spend his own money, and I feel like he's big enough where he doesn't necessarily need to draw people in, but
you could be right. Yeah.
The thing that got me, and I understand from an artistic standpoint what he was going for, but when he went in the maze and just started spinning around, I was like, okay, The Weeknd, like, this is a bop, but like, I'm old now and my TV is big and I'm sitting right up on my TV and I feel dizzy. So can you please stop doing this?
I think I literally, it must not have been you that I texted. I think it might have been my mom, who's a big football fan. I was like, man, I was really vibing with this until he gave me motion sickness. Because I was like, was it his plan to make me like disoriented and nauseous? Maybe it was. Maybe his plan was also to give us great memes because he gave us great memes. But I don't know. It was certainly good. It was an upper crust halftime show, I would say, in terms of performance.
I don't think it was like my top tier, because there are some artists, like I just remember being blown away by Jennifer Lopez.
She was really good.
And Shakira. I feel like they did a really, really good job, and they were like very high energy and they brought it. But there are also some really bad ones. And I feel like this was probably, like you said, one of the upper crust performances. I thought it was pretty good. I feel like at least the music has a pretty wide appeal. His music obviously does have a pretty wide appeal, and it's very current. It's not like, I feel like the Super Bowl halftime shows used to all be like semi-washed up singers for a little bit. There was like a run where they were like, oh, all over the board. I remember you, and not like your top tier, top 40 singer. So I feel like this is good. Yeah. This is a good, decent performance.
They got Madonna when she was like well past her prime. Some of the weirder ones. I remember Black Eyed Peas were still pretty hot at that point, but their show was so weird. I was like, this is too weird for me. I remember Bruno Mars was really good. That's the one that I always think
Bruno
back
Mars
on.
was
He was really good. Everyone talks about Prince being really good, but that was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly when that was. In any case, yeah, The Weeknd. Go check out. I'm sure you could watch the show online right now if you wanted to, if you didn't see it. But we're gonna now take a second and talk about two of the trailers. I'm sure there were more than two trailers, but the two that kind of jumped out at us as the biggest deals and kind of ones that stuck in our minds. I have strong thoughts about both of these. I want to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier first. And I want to kick things off, but first of all, pause the podcast and go watch the trailer if you haven't yet. Come back. I want this to be good very badly. It is not going to be good. That is my... You
don't think so?
I do not think it's going to be good. I want it to be. I don't think it's going. I don't think they can sell it. I love Anthony Mackie. I have a bad feeling about it. It's a little bit hard to put my finger on what it is exactly. I feel like it's going to be a lot of shallow banter between the two of them, which gets you to a certain point, and then there's going to be no substance.
I don't mind that. And maybe it's just because, I don't know, I don't mind that. I feel like this could be an interesting kind of like buddy cop show sort of deal. You know what I mean? I would be here for that. Like, again, and we're talking about a service. Disney Plus is really struggling, and I think we notice it more when there's only one show that's pumping out content. So we noticed it with The Mandalorian, because then we had to wait a week to really even have any reason to boot up Disney Plus. And the same thing is happening now with WandaVision, where I wish there was more, because I watched the half-hour-ish show, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, buy Disney Plus for another week. So if they can pull off like a buddy cop thing, I think it could be fun.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up WandaVision, and I'm dipping into my what are you up to a little bit, but I'm late to the party. I know you and Tactic have already been watching it. Hayes and I got to it this past week, and because they're half an hour episodes, we blasted through it in like 2 evenings, I think. And I have to say, I went into WandaVision thinking, okay, whatever. Like, I don't really want to watch it, but I don't have anything else to watch, so I'll give it a try. And it surprised me. It's very good. I think it's very good. It's very interesting. It's very engaging. Marvel has managed to be different yet again, which you don't think they're capable of doing. But they've really done it with WandaVision, whatever it is. It's hard to even say what it is yet, and we're 5 episodes in. That's kind of a testament to it. So that gives me some hope that Falcon and the Winter Soldier could be good. I don't like the supposition that one of them is going to become the new Captain America. I know that that's a comic book parallel. I don't care for it. I also really don't like what they've done to Winter Soldier, and I felt that way for a while. Winter Soldier, his introduction movie, which is, of course, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, is my favorite MCU movie. And in that movie, he is this dark, tragically misunderstood character who, Captain America eventually gets through to, and they form kind of this tense bond that is occasionally a friendship, occasionally an enmity, and that carries into Civil War, of course, and beyond. And I guess it did start in Civil War, but him and Falcon developed this relationship that's used as a comedic relief vehicle, which is great in a movie like Civil War, and when it has the foil of Captain America, who's stone cold serious at all times. Without him, I'm worried about its depth. Like I said, I want it to be good really bad. I think it could have some really great action. I think the villain, who I believe is Baron Zemo, looks super cool, and I like just the premise. They gave him one line in the trailer, which is superheroes shouldn't exist. It's a great premise for a villain. We've seen it before, but it doesn't mean it's not good. So I want it to be a good show, and I'm sure I'm going to watch it because, like you said, Disney Plus has this not great cycle where, okay, you're going to keep us around, on your monthly billing cycle because we have this one show that you need to watch, and this show will likely be that next one. It's probably going to pick up right when WandaVision season 1 ends. I would guess is what their plan is.
The thing that I'm really interested to see is, do we know, and maybe we do know this and I'm just ignorant here, but do we know whether all of these shows have more than one season? Because that's my greatest fear is that, and I guess fear is not the right word, but I feel like we're going to get all of these shows where you get one season, but because everything flows into each other and there's a continuity that they need, that's all we're going to get. You know what I mean? I feel like we're going to be drip fed these single season series. That's a tongue twister right there. Single season series. That just all kind of go one right into another. But then we never get to revisit them. And I feel like they're all going to be, I feel like it's going to be an innovative show because I feel like their entire point of making these MCU series is to try out different things that they can't possibly do and pull off in the 2-hour runtime they have.
Right.
So I feel like it's going to inherently be somehow innovative just because that's what I've come to expect from the MCU. And maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be super average and disappointing.
But by the way,
WandaVision was not. So
yeah, WandaVision's doing that in spades is what I was going to say. In terms of trying things they couldn't do in a movie, they're doing that as hard as they can. Like, with this whole every week is a different sitcom thing. It's super engaging.
And so I think my biggest fear is that I'm going to really enjoy WandaVision because I was just like kind of mediocre on the first few episodes until we started seeing where things fall into place. I thought we'd just be getting like a drip fed. Oh, drip fed is my word of the day. Drip fed a bunch of these like different era sitcom things that we don't really get a payoff until the end, but they've started giving us that payoff. But I feel like I'm going to fall in love with this show, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier will do something really cool, and then that's just going to be it for those shows, and then we're going to have to start all over with another one. That's my biggest concern. We're
definitely going to get a WandaVision season 2. I'd be shocked if we didn't. The way the trajectory of the show right now, and I'm not saying WandaVision season 2 is going to look anything like season 1. I would be surprised if that were the case, but I don't think they're going to kill the show. I think, and again, this is a huge chunk of my what am I up to, but I agree that it took a little while to warm up as a show. But I'm not going to reveal what the big twist was at the end of the last episode, but it blew my pants off in a non-sexual way. It blew my pants off, and I'm looking forward to see what they do and what they continue to do with that show. But I love Jimmy Woo. I love Jimmy Woo. I like the characters they're bringing in. And I don't think they would bring those characters in to just have them, flit away again and come up somewhere else.
I know this is a little bit of a tangent from our news, and we're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but that's fine. I guess Tactic must be the one that reins us in normally.
Apparently, yeah.
I saw somewhere on Twitter, or maybe it was on Reddit. I don't remember.
The card thing?
No, someone suggested a Jimmy Woo X-Files style show, and I'm here for that. That would be amazing. I would love that. Please do that. That's great.
Jimmy Woo is... So when I mentioned the card thing, so this is a deep cut, but when he first shows up in WandaVision, he's meeting with someone, and he introduces himself like Jimmy Woo FBI, and he puts up his hand, and it looks like it's empty, and then he like does a little like card trick thing where the card kind of just pops into his hand. And if you've seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's an in-joke. Like, Marvel's so good with this stuff. This is why Marvel is what it is Jimmy Woo shows up in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he's like keeping track of Paul Rudd, making sure he's staying on house arrest, and he shows up to check on Paul Rudd at one point, and Paul Rudd is so bored on house arrest that he's learned close-up magic, and he shows Jimmy Woo a bunch of card tricks really fast. And Jimmy Woo's like blown away. He's like, how did you do this? And so later on in the movie, you see him in his office. Someone like walks in to check something FBI related. And it shows Jimmy Woo like on a close-up card magic website trying to learn the trick that Paul Rudd was doing. And then when he shows up in WandaVision, and you can see that he does the trick with his business card. And it's like it's this great moment where you're like, oh yes, he figured it out. And it's little things like that they put in for continued fans of the MCU that make me think they're going to take over the world. So anyways, Falcon and Winter Soldier, go watch the trailer. Maybe Jimmy Woo will show up in that too. I don't know where he ties in, but...
Can Jimmy Woo just be everywhere, please?
Jimmy Woo X-Files would be, like a Marvel X-Files would be a powerhouse.
Right.
I would be surprised if Marvel wasn't ahead of us on this one. It's a great idea. It's too good to leave alone, but they probably were like, yeah, idiots, we already figured that out. It's coming in 2022. I'm sure they're going to reveal it, tomorrow. But I want to talk about this M. Night movie, too, before we go to the break. Because, look, I like M. Night Shyamalan. Unbreakable is one of my favorite movies ever. It's probably in my top 10 all-time movies. I liked Signs a lot. I like The Sixth Sense, his classics. I saw this trailer and I laughed. I was laughing the whole time. And a part of it, I think, a big part of it. Okay, this is based on a graphic novel called Sandcastle, which is a great title. You know what a bad title is?
Old.
Hey, want to go see? Wait, what do you want to go see at the movies this weekend? I don't know. Old. Just no. Come on, that's what they came up with. It looks like it's a ridiculous premise.
It's too
interesting,
on the news.
I guess.
It's too on the nose, not on the news. The premise of the movie is basically they go to this beach and it all makes them age super fast. So of course, the best, most innovative title for this movie must be Old.
Right. It's just that I guess frustrates me as a occasionally creative person. I was like, you couldn't figure something else out. I will say, it's unsettling. The premise, the part, it was a great move by them to put in the trailer that this girl is a girl, and then next second she's pregnant. I was like, that's scary. That's a scary thing, movie. She's 1 second she's 10 years old, the next second she's got a big stomach, the next second you see her holding the baby. It's interesting, but I don't know. I'm scared with him lately. I'm scared with M. Night.
I feel like it could be decent.
He's still capable of great things, by the way. Split was good. I thought Glass was good. Other people didn't. I thought Glass was good.
I mean, he had that Apple Plus show that was just okay, I think. Actually, Hayes and I, that's it's vaguely on our watch list, but we're both kind of because it's one of those things I don't know. My Apple Plus subscription that I got for free with my phone, they keep extending it for free, and now I have it until July. So occasionally we'll go in there and be like, let's see what's new, because a lot of the Apple Plus original series have been really, really good. But for some reason, there's something about that, and I'm just I don't really want to watch it. I don't know what it is. I just Servant.
I've heard to be in the mood.
I've heard decent things. I think it's got. Let me look this up really quick. It's got an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got Ron Weasley in it.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be intrigued, but there's something about it where I'm just not.
It's just it's not that I'm not intrigued, because I kind of am, but it's okay, I've had a long day at work. I want to sit down on the couch, maybe with a beverage of choice and relax and watch a television show. And it's all right, what about a creepy baby doll that's not actually a baby, and it's not alive, but the mom acts like it is. And also, this is a horror film series somehow. And also, there's this nanny that people don't really understand.
It's one
just
of those things,
it's depressing.
It's kind of I don't know. Did you ever get into American Horror Story? Because I feel that was my same thought process. I always heard really great things, and that it was a great show and super innovative. And I don't discount that at all. But basically, to your point, at the end of a long day, and maybe it's just me lately, but I feel American Horror Story has also been on for a really long time. So maybe it's me in the last decade. But I don't want to watch something like that. Even my dramas, I don't want it to be super creepy. I just want it to be a drama. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into supernatural stuff, really. The Walking Dead really did a number on me, I think, for that, because it ate up all of my supernatural-ish type thing. And superheroes, as far as I'll go now these days.
Well, I've watched horror shows and liked them, and I watched Castle Rock. I liked Castle Rock. There have been a few Stephen King related shows I've watched and enjoyed, but I think another example of a horror show that does it right and makes me want to show up is Stranger Things. And maybe you wouldn't call Stranger Things a horror show, but it's a horror show with pizzazz and a sense of fun.
Yeah, it's more fun than it is horror, because I put off watching that show for the longest time, because you guys know by now I don't like scary things. Yeah. And even I liked it, so it wasn't that scary.
But even Walking Dead, it's hard to call it fun, but it's zombies and it's a little fun. people die, but it's a little fun. Whereas like Servant's like, okay, we're very purposely not going to have any fun. Show up if you want to. It's going to be weird. And I'm like, no, I'll watch Friends on HBO Max. Like that's more my speed right now. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see with Old. Like I said, based on a graphic novel. I did not know that until Nerdbomber told me right before we started recording this. But presumably M. Night like took that story and was like, yeah, but this part where there's no twist, yeah, let's twist this up a notch. We'll see. That's what he's known for. Maybe the twist will be that there's no twist. He's thrown some softballs lately, but he's also still capable of some fast pitches. So,
do you think he's playing the long game this entire time, where he's like, I'm going to put a twist in all of my stuff, and then 20, 30 years from now, down the road, I'm going to do one thing where there's no twist. And that will be the ultimate twist.
That, I hope he's planning that, because what a great twist. Oh my God. That would be incredible. Go check out the trailer for Old and for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Check out the Weeknd's halftime show if you want. I don't know. Do it at your own discretion, I suppose. And let us know on Twitter what you thought of the Super Bowl. Did your team win? Did your team lose? Did you not care like me? Did you turn it off? Did you not watch it all? Let us know at OWLeo86, at Online Warriors 1, at OW Nerdbomber. We are here to take your calls. We're not taking calls, but you get my point. We are going to head to the break now and shout out our sponsor. But before we do, of course, we would be remiss if we did not shout out our two Patreon producers, Mr. Ben Checkness and Mr. Stephen Keller. We got two names. I got two names to list off this week. That's a big deal for the show. Thanks to both of you, to both of our nights. We're building ourselves a little round table here. Maybe do we want to go round table, or is that played out? Do we want to go with like a hexagonal table? So there's only 6 spots and you have to like first come, first serve situation.
I don't know. I feel like the round table is so traditional, and I know we're like really on the nose with all of our night stuff, but I'm digging it, Big fan of fantasy and all that fun, like Sword in the Stone, Merlin type stuff, so I'm here for it.
Well, whatever the shape of the table is, Ben and Steven, you both have seats at it, as our knights and as our Patreon producers. So, as I mentioned, they are Patreon producers. They support us at the night level, and as a result, they get this weekly shout out on the show. They get access into our weekly game segment, and they also, of course, get access to our monthly secret segment and vlog. And we also have a Squire level of support, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. And of course, there is the lowly Paige, who gets access to the monthly secret segment. So for more details on that and on how to support the show, give back to the show, you can head over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. We want to thank Ben and Steven again. Their support makes this show happen. And you could help make this show happen too by heading over to Patreon. Thanks again to them, and we will be right back after a message from Kind Bars. Today's episode is brought to you by Kind Bar. So, my personal connection to Kind Bar, I'm not just reading an ad script here, guys. I have a personal connection, which is we have a family-sized box of dark chocolate cherry cashew Kind Bars in our house. I'll be honest, I don't eat them that often, but my girlfriend eats them every single day, and we have a family-sized box, and we're only 2 people. So what does that say about the quality and repeated good taste of Kind Bars? Kind is deeply committed to crafting food with real, recognizable ingredients, a disruptive notion that sparked the creation of a new healthy snacking category. Kind is also unapologetic in their efforts to challenge the status quo, to shift the food industry and empower their community and our listeners to make better, more informed choices about health. Kindness can be a transformative force for good, and that is why we are teaming up with Kind and Podgo to bring our listeners 10% or 15% off for military, teachers, students, first responders, doctors, and nurses. Go to podgo.co/kind, that's podgo.co/kind, for more of the details. Kind Bar, creating a kinder and healthier world. One act, one snack at a time. Okay, so now we're going to shift into the gaming news segment of the show. And I'm going to start off with this EA news, which is mostly an excuse for me to talk about how much I don't understand and honestly kind of dislike mobile gaming. I mean, we'll talk about it, but let's start with the news first. EA has acquired Glu Mobile. Again, we got to talk about these company names, these movie names. I'm not a big fan of that, but this company is known for a number of heavy-hitting franchises: Diner Dash, Disney Sorcerer's Arena, WWE Universe, Tap Sports Baseball 20, and of course, Kim Kardashian Hollywood, which I don't know what that game entails. What do you do in Kim Kardashian Hollywood?
I feel like, and I've never played this, so don't judge me. I don't judge people who would play this, but I've heard that you basically just like live a day in the life as Kim Kardashian or one of her friends / posse.
I want to
live the glam life.
I'm judging people who play this. You might not want to go out on that limb. I will go all the way out on it. The limb can crack. I will fall. I won't care. I'll be laughing the whole time down. Kim Kardashian Hollywood, really? There are better games out there. I think
it's one of the top selling games. If you look at like microtransactions and how much money they rake in, like it is one of the top grossing mobile games out there.
Well, if that's true, then I just alienated a bunch of potential listeners. I'm not sorry about it. Anyways, the news. EA is acquiring game studio Glu Mobile for $2.1 billion. This is one of the largest acquisitions in gaming ever. We, of course, talked recently about Microsoft acquiring Bethesda and a number of other companies. That is actually part of a conglomerate, ZeniMax Media, which is the parent company to Bethesda, ID Software, Arcane, a bunch of those. We talked about that in 2020. That was $7.5 billion, so obviously quite a bit more. But this still ranks, top 10 or thereabouts, maybe even top 6, 7 in terms of biggest gaming acquisitions. So it's a big deal, and it's a repeated move of EA's to develop a mobile gaming business. This is not their first foray into it, as far as my understanding goes. They defeated Take-Two Interactive to acquire Dirt developer Codemasters in January. So they're kind of scooping up game studios right now. And I don't understand mobile gaming. Like, I've played Candy Crush on my phone. I had a phase with that. I had a phase in college with 2048, which you were a part of.
Oh, Doge 2048, which is probably, if 2048 was having its heyday right now, Doge 2048 would be like right up there with the whole Dogecoin hype. We were ahead of our times.
Well, we probably were. We're constantly innovating here at Online Warriors Podcast. But my point is, like, I have a euchre app on my phone. I have a chess app on my phone. I feel like those don't count because they don't have look, any dope can play chess on their phone. Like Candy Crush, I was in on the mobile gaming zeitgeist for a while, but that was a very short span, and I uninstalled it at some point because I was like, I never play this.
See, okay, I'm really torn here.
Dissenting opinion. It sounds like it's coming.
I don't look down on mobile gaming like a lot of people do. And I've had my fair share of mobile gaming addictions. I was really into Clash of Clans, which was also poorly hyphenated to cock for a while. I was like super into it because, there were a bunch of us who were playing it. Doge 2048 was really big, like Words with Friends.
Did you actually call Clash of Clans cock?
Oh, yeah. It was a very, it was like one of those things where everyone was doing it and it was just like, well, everyone knows what I'm talking about.
You succumb to the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Words with Friends, that's a good point. I played the crap out of Words with Friends, but again, does that count? It's Scrabble.
Right, but kind of, it still does. And then I'm trying to think, there were other games. There was actually, I actually spent money on this game, which was bad. I usually have a rule where I don't spend money on games.
You told me, you made me download a game. This was like last year, I think. 2 years ago. You made me download some card game, and it actually was pretty good. I played it a couple times. But
yeah. I don't remember what it was called, but there's actually a physical version of that deck building game, and they basically just made it a digital version so that you can play on the go.
It's not Star Realms, is it?
It is. It is Star Realms. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I was like, I know it's spaceships. I don't remember the name.
You also, not to out you here, you also made me download. It was like a Fallout
Shelter was so good. I was addicted to that.
You were in that one.
Tactic and I were both like really addicted to Fallout Shelter to the point where like we weren't getting sleep because we were just laying in bed playing Fallout Shelter. Even there was a hockey team manager game, which I was really into, and that's the one I spent money on, where you would actually like draft players and you basically acted as a GM and you didn't play at all, but then you would actually like watch. You know how in like Madden and stuff you can sim games and not actually play, but you get like the play-by-play, you know?
So you paid money to not... Okay. What I'm hearing is that you're a poster child for mobile gaming. Is that unfair?
That was actually the only game I've ever paid money for. And so you had like draft capital, right? And it basically played like Madden Ultimate Team in Madden, I was going to say, or like NHL HUT, but you didn't actually like play the game then, you just managed the team. And I wanted to open packs, so I spent real money to open packs for this game. And
you got to do you know?
It's fun. Like these games, they're addictive. And I think we're also seeing the turn of mobile gaming in general. I don't think it's stupid for EA to want to get back into the mobile gaming realm, especially now that like you look at xCloud that has mobile gaming on the go. I mean, I feel like it's just going to get more and more popular, especially when you think of how impressive these devices are. Tactic got a Samsung S21, which is that the newest Samsung? I don't know. I'm an Apple person. But like the screen size and graphical capabilities and the processing power of that thing are just like mind-blowing. I mean, I play Among Us on my phone.
Yeah, so you're saying that eventually phones are going to reach the point where they can play games like consoles can, and companies like EA are trying to get in on the ground floor by scooping up developers who are aware of the architecture and the challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll ever see it rival console gaming. I think console and PC gaming is just still too difficult. I know they have all of those controllers you can snap your phone into, but it's not like the optimal place to play. But I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, look at all of these mobile games and all of the microtransactions. They make a lot of money. And
if there's one thing we know, it's that EA likes microtransactions. Like I don't want to paint this as like Hitler shaking hands with Satan, but it sure feels that way to me. Like in the few times that I have played mobile games, the most annoying thing on earth is when there's pop-up ads or microtransactions or whatever. And I feel like EA, in as much as I want to believe, they're trying to capitalize on a growing and rising force in the gaming industry. I also think they probably saw that there's a lot of very easy ways to, get transactions going in this medium, and they were like, yes, that's our business model. It's who we are.
This is our perfect fit.
And I hope I'm wrong. But that's my read on this situation. People are going to go to play Kim Kardashian Hollywood. And if they want to, drive Kim's car to the mall, or I don't know what this game is, but maybe now EA is going to be like, all right, to unlock Kim's car, you got to pay us 5 big ones. That's the end game, I think. I hope I'm wrong.
Drive Kim's car.
Can Kim Kardashian drive?
I have no idea. I know nothing. What I picture this game is, do you remember back in like the 90s? And this is going to date us and anybody who wasn't around for the 90s social media craze.
We talked about Beethoven for like 20 minutes in the first half of the episode. Do you remember that?
Do you remember they were basically little people that you could dress up, and they looked like dolls or something?
Polly Pockets?
No. This is like a digital thing, and you would put them on your MySpace. I don't know if you remember this, but you could pick their hats. Maybe it was more of like a female thing, so you didn't ride that train. But I
didn't have a MySpace. I think that might be the main issue.
Yeah, that's probably it. It was big on MySpace.
Well, in any case, EA has acquired Glu Mobile. So there are big things coming in the EA mobile sphere, so be on the lookout for that. Other gaming news, as sad as it is, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which we talked about this, I think, last year when this was first announced. I have never played this game. I remember you, and I think Tactic in particular, were over the moon excited about this. So how are you doing right now with the news that it has been delayed indefinitely?
Look, I'm actually okay with this. So I was excited about this and the potential to get to play this. However, I think one of my criticisms of the trailer that they showed us was the graphics are just so lackluster, especially when you consider now that like the quote unquote next gen is current gen. Like, I know they were planning to release it on PS4 and Xbox One, but like a lot of people now are starting to transition into next gen, or at least expect that type of graphics. And what we saw in that original trailer looked like something from the Xbox 360 era of games. And if that means they're going back and because there was a lot of user feedback too of people who viewed these videos, and after we talked about it, I think I went and hunted it down, and I think the graphics were a big sticking point for a lot of people just because it looked really, really old. And if you're going to pay for a remaster or a remake, you want it to kind of look like a remaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're going to remaster it, remaster it all the way.
So if they're going back and they're kind of overhauling the graphics and giving us the remaster treatment of this game that we deserve and that people want, I think this is not a bad thing. I'm always one of those people where I never fault a game for getting delayed. I think after I survived the Kingdom Hearts 3 wait of pretty much half my life, I think something like this, I'm just like, you know what? As long as they can do it right and like that's the final product, I'm fine with this.
We've talked about this, not just with remasters and remakes, but like I know when Cyberpunk was pushed back, we had this conversation, and unfortunately we've had to have this conversation a lot in the past year because of the pandemic. Of course, a lot of the difficulties probably stem from that and the logistical headaches that it causes. But I don't know. For me, I'm inclined to imagine a remaster that's been rumored for years that I care much more about, which is the Metroid franchise. And like Nintendo hasn't even thrown a bone out yet of like when that's coming, because they don't really do things that way. But if they did, and then like they said it's coming in like May, and then in May they were like, we're working on it, we'll give it to you in August, I would give them that 3 months, and then after that I'd be like, okay, where is it? So like actually the reason I mentioned that is that Prince of Persia this is now its second time being delayed. So they delayed it. It was originally slated for January, they delayed it to March, and now they delayed it again. There's probably a tipping point to kind of give a dissenting opinion to yours, which is take as long as you need. My opinion is when you announce it, be ready to announce it. And it sounds like maybe the developers here weren't. I mean,
that is a fair point. Because
that's probably why Nintendo hasn't announced Metroid yet, because we know they've had all kinds of issues with their studios, and they're going to announce it when they're good and ready. They tend to announce games and they'll be like, all right, it's coming out tomorrow. Go get it. It's like, Jesus. So
one of the things, and I was really excited about the game Biomutant, and I don't think we got a chance to talk about this news headline, and I don't really want to delve into it too much, but they basically announced that it finally has a release date, and they showed it off like a long time ago, and there was radio silence. But then everyone kind of forgot about it, but they explained that the reason they went radio silent is because they wanted people to kind of forget about it a little bit so that they could take the time they need to get it right. And I think that is the way. Like, one of my pet peeves is that, they announce stuff way, 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 way too early. Like, they give us a completely CGI, not game engine specific clip for most of these games. And then they're like, okay, coming soon, but that's it. And I feel like the video game industry PR departments just like to announce things so early. And I think that's not good.
In large part, Nintendo does it right. I stand by that. I mean, I think
it's like a surprise drop, and you get super hype, and then you buy it.
Yeah, there's probably, I shouldn't say probably, but there might be a better balance of like, you want to build hype for a certain amount of time, but if it's more than a year, you've taken a wrong step somewhere. Is my opinion. Whereas Nintendo, like, I think they announced Bowser's Fury, like we talked about it on the podcast. This was like 3 weeks. This was sometime in 2021 they announced this, and it's like probably out already. And that's the way you should do it, in my opinion. That's why I haven't heard anything about Metroid yet. And I'm sure when I hear something about it, they'll be like, okay, it'll be out next month. And I'll be like, yes, here's my money. But hey, I mean, I wish all the best to the Prince of Persia developers. I hope they get the issues sorted out because, at the end of the day, they're kind of a special case in that they were responding directly to people's feedback, seeing the initial video of the reveal. They might have put that reveal out and said, this is great, we'll have it out in 6 months. And then people responded saying, hey, what the heck? This looks like it was made on a potato. And they're like, oh, geez. And they had to restructure things, go back. And, to an extent, there's no shame in that. So hoping for the best for all the Prince of Persia fans on that. It's time for what we've been up to. I kind of kind of gave things away here with this. The WandaVision update was my big update. I've moved on from Tony Hawk. Here's the thing about Pro Skater. Did you guys beat it? Nerdbomber?
I did. Tactic played some of the stuff, but whenever...
Did you gold everything?
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
No, I don't have the patience for that. I didn't even have the patience for that as a kid. As much as I love the game, it's just like, at a certain point, I don't like the grind.
I got every single...
No pun intended. I love the grind.
I did all the park goals. Every single one. All the
Did you really?
Scores. I did. It took some time, but I enjoyed it. The competition parks where you get medals, I do not enjoy those because they are so freaking hard.
Okay,
they are insane.
I have a really bad trick. You just manual a lot.
Oh, that's how you win the game. How do you think I got the 6 scores? That's the only way you can get 6 scores is get huge combos from just manualing always. That's like, once you figure out how to do that, the entire game changes for you forever. So we might have just changed someone's life. Always manual, always revert after doing lip tricks. Mm-hmm. Those were the 2 secrets to the game, basically. And after a lot of work, I was able to get all the 6 scores and get all the high scores everywhere. But I still, for all of that work, still can't get more than silvers on the competition parks. And I finally reached a point where I was like, this isn't fun anymore. And that's okay. I'm going to move on.
See, I think I golded because there was a certain point where I was able to do manuals for like 2 minutes past like the call time for the end of your run. You
probably filled out your stats. I filled out all my stats. So mm-hmm. I have perfect balance on like everything. I still screw things up though because I fly too close to the sun. You're doing a trick that has like 18 moves on it, and then you beef. You're like, why am I here? Why am I on this earth?
There's actually, oh man, this is old and I forgot that we did this until we were talking about this. There's a video on our YouTube where Tactic and I were doing, is it Snake? The one, we called it Cow back in the day when we were playing basketball. But
like horse?
Horse.
Oh, yeah, horse.
And I don't know why I was thinking snake and cow. I don't know, animals.
Snake is a different game.
Yeah. But we were doing that, and there's so many times in that video where I just get too cocky and I fly too close to the sun and I mess up like this really nice 1,000,000-point combo just because I got too cocky, man.
Yeah. I will say, and I don't want to talk about this forever because I've moved on. I'm now playing, I went back to the Super Nintendo and I'm playing Super Metroid, which is great, but it's a totally different experience. Not a whole lot to talk about there, but Downhill Jam on Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, hate that level.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's the absolute worst. Like, whoever came up with that level is sick.
Stupid.
It's just a horrible person. I think that was the last one to get the 6 score on. It took me ages. It took me ages to get the secret tape on that level. I usually love getting the secret tape. It's an absolute thrill for me. That was like homework. Hated it. Love the game though. I should say it. The remaster is incredible. Well worth every penny. So if you're on the fence about that, go out and get it. But yeah, besides that and WandaVision, that's the bulk of my update. Watched the Superbowl, had a bad time, but what else is new?
Womp womp. I should use the soundboard. The Super Bowl gives me a downer.
Don't we literally have a sad trombone like?
Oh, that's not the right one.
So you chushed my pain?
Yep.
All right, well, what do you have for the group this week? What do you have to share? Show and tell.
Honestly, haven't done too much. A lot going on, but we did watch Palmer, which is the Apple Plus original movie.
Okay, you watched Palmer. I want to talk about this.
It has Justin Timberlake in it. Essentially, for those of you who haven't watched it or don't know anything about the movie, Justin Timberlake's character gets out of jail and then goes to live with his grandmother in this small town, and his neighbor, who is a kind of absentee drug addict mother, her child kind of globs onto him and his grandmother and stays with them while his mother kind of disappears for a while. And it's basically a movie about Justin Timberlake's character Palmer and his relationship with this kid and how they kind of form a father-son bond, even though they're very different types of people, and yet they still find that closeness together.
Was it good? because I wanted to watch it and I showed it to Hayes and she was like, too sad. And I was like, that's fair. So we didn't watch it.
It was entirely sad. It was a very emotional movie.
How could it not be?
Right. I thought it was actually pretty good. Like, I wouldn't go out and say that it was the best movie of the year, but from an emotional movie and from the message of the movie and everything, I found myself really enjoying it.
I'm not a JT like stan or whatever. I hate using that word. But I will say I'm glad he's on screen again. I think he's a very good actor.
He really is. Like you said, I'm not like the biggest Justin Timberlake fan in the world. I don't dislike him by any means, but I'm not his biggest fan. And I thought he was able to portray this character very well. The acting felt super authentic. Both him and the young actor playing the boy in the movie, who I should know the actor's name. I don't have it in front of me. But I thought the acting was pretty stellar because most of the movie really focuses on those two characters. And everyone else, like there are a few other tertiary characters, but it really is about their relationship. And I think it was super well acted. It felt really authentic. I think it was a pretty important movie for people to watch. And
Ryder Allen.
Thank you. And I don't know what I was expecting going into it, but I enjoyed it. Because like we kind of went in blind because it was like, oh, look, a new movie. Justin Timberlake's in it. We don't really know much about it. Flew blind. Most of the Apple Plus stuff that we've watched lately has been pretty good. So we were really confident that at least it would be entertaining. And it was a pretty touching movie. So definitely recommend.
I watched the movie too. I didn't mention it. The Little Things on HBO Max.
Oh, how was that?
It was exceedingly average.
Really?
I went in, my expectations were way too high going in. I was looking for like the Denzel of yore. He was good, but in terms of like the overall movie, it was good, but it was exactly what you expect, which
See, we were actually trying to decide whether we wanted to watch that movie or Palmer, and we went with Palmer instead.
It's worth watching probably, but you just watch it. It's worth, the performances make it worthwhile. I'll say that much. But yeah,
good to know.
Streaming movies, that's what everyone's doing these days. It's what we're doing. So go check some of those out if you have HBO Max or Apple TV Plus. I got a quiz for you, and this is, look, you're just playing against yourself. You're just trying to be the best version of you that you can be. You know,
I can do this.
The topic brought to us this week by our Patreon producers: Game Boy games. Now, I did not own an original Game Boy. Look, I'm old, but I'm not that old.
I only had, it started the Color, then I had the Advance, and then like the Advance SP, and then I tapped out. I think the SP might have been the last one though. I never got into the original DS. So
we did have so it was the Game Boy and then the Game Boy Pocket, then the Color, then the Advance, then the SP. We had the Pockets. We got in one console generation before you did in our family. But the questions I have in front of me today, I took the term Game Boy games very literally. There's no Advance SP, no DS, none of that. This is not even the Game Boy Pocket. This is literally the first Game Boy when it came out. I'm going to be talking about the games for that console specifically. And of course, we're going to start with the question that you probably saw coming. The best-selling Game Boy game of all time is Tetris. How many units did it sell? These are all Price is Right questions, by the way. I have 6 in front of me, so we're going to say that if you get 3 or more correct, I'll give you the win.
What constitutes as correct?
Oh man, that's a good question because I didn't think ahead.
Do I have to be like within a percentage? Potentially.
We're gonna say you have to be within. Oh man, I didn't think ahead on this. We're gonna say you have to be within 20%.
Okay. I'm gonna say 40 million copies of Tetris were sold.
Okay, you're well within 20% on that one. 35 million. Actually, in excess of 35 million units worldwide. 35 million units is just what's written down. I'm not going to tell you when this game came out because, well, the next question is, when was the first Game Boy released? I'm going to give you a plus minus of 5 years here. No, a plus minus of 3 years. I'm not that nice.
I feel like it was 1985.
April 1989. That's a black mark on your record. You were very close.
Darn it. I was so close.
I took away your 5 and went down to 3, and it got you good.
Bit me.
Okay, back into Since you did so well in the first question, I'm going to say you have to be within 10% here. How many games were released in total for the original Game Boy?
Just the original.
Just the original Game Boy.
I'm gonna say 150, because then I feel like the Game Boy Pocket came out shortly thereafter, and then the Color, and then they started making exclusive games for that. So I'm gonna say 150. Plus, it's like the number of Pokemon, so maybe I can catch them all.
1,046.
So not even close.
I could have given you 100%, and you almost still wouldn't have gotten it.
I don't know why, but I thought the iteration between the original Game Boy and like Game Boy Pocket and Color was really short, but clearly not.
Well, so this should help you. The next question is, when was the Game Boy discontinued? Now, bear in mind, there were 1,046 games. I'm going to give you plus minus 5 years because you're struggling. And I want this to be interesting.
I feel like maybe they still were selling them then when the Game Boy Pocket and Color were a thing. So, I mean, the original Pokemon, I think, when did that come out? It was like 94, maybe 95. I don't remember. Well, okay, 25 years of Pokemon. I should be able to back calculate. I don't know. 1995.
2003.
No way.
Yeah, way. 2003.
No way.
The Game Boy Color was released in 1998, and they apparently had an overlap of about 5 years.
You're kidding me.
2003 is when it was discontinued. Some people were still playing Game Boys, original Game Boys in 2003. So, look, those are your 3 misses. You now have to get both of these correct to win the game. These last 2 questions, I had a list in front of me. I want to say it was from Game Rant, of basically the 10 rarest Game Boy games of all time, and in particular how much they cost. And the last question is about the actual rarest one and how much it costs. But the first question I want to ask before that is actually about number 10, which I thought was particularly interesting because it's not a game. It is the King James Bible.
Did they Game Boy fight that?
You can buy the King James Bible for use on the Game Boy. How much would you have to pay these days for a brand new copy of the King James Bible on the Nintendo Game Boy, which, bear in mind, is now discontinued? I'm going to give you 30%. I'm going to give you 50% on this because I want you to go into this last question with some hope. So plus minus 50%.
I feel like
You could still be totally wrong too.
So like, okay, I have multiple factors going into this. I know like original Game Boy games, just from when I went to the Retro Game Con, are relatively expensive, but a lot of them aren't in like the thousands. We're talking more like the hundreds. And then also there's an element of like who actually wants them and like who is trying to read the King James Bible on the teeny tiny Game Boy screen. It can't even be good. I mean, I don't
even know who was trying to do that at the beginning.
Right. Like, I feel like was it this rare? I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this isn't that valuable because it's just strange in that I don't know how useful it would be. And most people, like, other than a collector's thing, I feel like there's not a lot of demand. I'm going to say maybe $200.
Okay, you're well within. That was a very good guess. $262.
Really?
So you were right in there. I don't want to do the math, but
would you say I was right on the money?
No, you'd have been right on the money if you'd have guessed $262.
Well, I was close.
You were close on the money. So we're going to move into the final question with a chance for you to win it all. And by all, I mean not really anything. But we're going to keep going with this list. Bear in mind, I'm moving from number 10 now to number 1 on the rarest Game Boy games of all time. And I want to read you a little blurb about this one. This game is called Spud's Adventure.
Please tell me it's about a potato.
It is about a potato.
Yes.
This game features a cast of vegetables, and the player controls Spud, a potato that is tasked with saving Princess Mato.
So this is basically generic VeggieTales. Love it.
Well, I'm going to keep reading. However, this is no Super Mario-like quest. Spud must traverse through a world viewed from the top down in a variety of environments like urban brickscapes, beaches, and caves with strange orbs everywhere. To defeat foes, players must blast them with a simple potato gun while guarding their hearts.
I love that.
By dodging enemy attacks. If you want to pick up a new and complete copy of Spud's Adventure for the Game Boy, how much are you paying? According to Game Rant, the rarest Game Boy game that exists. I'll give you 50% again.
I would probably pay $5,000 for Spud's Adventure if I could play it.
Boy, I gotta get out my calculator here. Very close. I think you got it. Since I gave you a very generous 50%, you did manage to fall within.
Did I?
The plus minus.
Is it more?
$3,500.
Oh, it's less.
It's less.
I thought I was like undercutting it. I was like concerned it would be when you said 50%. I was like, okay, well, I could see this easily being like $10,000 because Spud, potatoes.
I will say, I would think it would have been more. But I'll tell you what, you nailed it. You pulled off a win. So you'll be hosting next week. I am going to mark this down as a victory in the overall sheet for the year. Let's see if I can scroll down and find this. That puts your record at 2-1. You now have a winning record.
Look at me go.
I'm still 2-0 with 2 perfect games, so I'm still really good. Tactic sitting at 1-3 right now. There's some work to do on that, but
we'll have to like normalize for the games played. Like it'll have to be like a win percentage or something like that.
Well, my win percentage is currently 100.
That's true.
So yeah, we will see. There is no telling right now, to be perfectly honest, if we'll be back at full fighting strength next week. But either way, we ought to be here in some form to talk at you about all things nerd news and pop culture, and about our various goings on. And we've had a real pleasure chatting with all of you today. Thank you all for joining us. And again, reach out to us on Twitter if you want to chat more about any and all of the things we talked about today. Go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you liked what you heard, or if you didn't. And head over to Patreon if you want to give back to the show if you liked what you heard. Thanks again to Ben and Steven for producing this episode. And thanks to my lovely co-hosts. There was no Lady in the Tramp spaghetti situation, but I think we're all better for it.
Yeah, I would agree.
So we'll see you all next week.
Have a good one.